Welcome into Weekly Champions right here on Wrestling Spotlight TV. You can see us on that True TV Plus app, on your TCL TVs. Just hit the plus button, Sports.TV, Carbon TV, and Watchy. And Sonny, as always, we want to say hi to everybody watching us on Watchy in the Baltimore, Maryland area. Thanks for joining us here. Hey, it was a big week in professional wrestling and a great week to mark your 1-year anniversary as our resident analyst on the Wrestling Spotlight channel. Sonny, how do you feel about the whole John Cena heel turn and how it's playing out in WWE? Because, I mean, that really is the big story going right now, isn't it? I mean, the guy who was hustle, loyalty, and respect, and now he's kind of selling out, trying to get that one last title.
I'm having a hard time taking that in. I don't know if he could be trusted to fully make the turn. I think it could be a setup. That's my way of thinking. So if it is a setup, it's a heck of a setup.
That would be interesting. Yeah, because it's kind of hard to just turn your back on what you've always done, right? Because you do what you do because it works.
Right. So that's kind of my feeling about where it could be going. If he has sold out to the Rock, it just puts a real ding in his legacy as to what he's done up to this point. And he almost doesn't need to go with the Rock to accomplish his goals. So I'm having a hard time digesting that.
Yeah, and what do you think? I mean, even The Rock, because, I mean, The Rock was never, the most reviled heel in WWE. Heck, the most times he got booed is when he was Rocky Maivia. I mean, he was popular when he was in the Nation of Domination. So even with The Rock, it's kind of a weird change, right, to character. Because, I mean, the other thing that's weird is you're looking at two of the highest paid actors in the world, and they're now the quote unquote hated guys in the WWE universe. It's just an unusual dynamic because people don't hate The Rock and John Cena. They love them.
Right. And for them to flip the switch this soon is a little bit mind-boggling. I wasn't as over the top as some of the fans were who watched it. Maybe during one event we can actually do a live podcast during the event like some of the other shows have done. But it was something to behold. I can't believe what I was seeing either. And in the blink of an eye, I mean, he and John Cena are just buds. And I mean, money talks, but John Cena doesn't have to have it. He's made his own fortune, so I'm not really getting the vibe off of it that some people may be getting. So.
Well, does he just really, really want that title and that separation between him and Ric Flair?
I think that could be the drive behind the force, and that's something that I have in my notes tonight, actually, and we'll be covering that, I guess, a little bit later. But I don't see why he needs the edge. I'm a little confused, Bentley, about the whole thing. So.
Yeah. I mean, now, how did you like Cody's response?
Loved Cody's
at
response.
The Garden.
Yeah, he's been tempted a time or two to turn, and so far he hasn't. He's held on with both hands, and the fans really went for Cody. Cody was born to be a fan lead wrestler. From his dad right on to his brother and to him. And sure. I'm happy to see he's maintaining his current role.
Yeah, which really does make a little bit more. That makes Cena's move make a little bit more sense because, I mean, Cody's kind of built this character in here. When we were talking with Titus O'Neil from the WWE Hall of Fame, and he is an executive with WWE. he said that now the wrestlers are much more in charge of their persona, and the personas you see on camera are, in fact, the wrestlers just turned 12. So, I mean, if that's what Cody really wants to be, which I'd imagine it is, because it's what he's been since he left WWE to begin with and went to Ring of Honor, went to New Japan, went to the Indies. I don't think he wants to change it because, I mean, heck, do you need to change something? This has been a record-setting run in WWE because the thought was, hey, Roman Reigns has been the champion. He's your tribal chief, right? And right. WWE's on a roll. We don't need to change anything. All they can do is go down. They've gone up. I mean, they've gone up. They've had record-setting grosses over and over and over again. And I guarantee you they're going to break the record at WrestleMania, even in a smaller stadium, because the tickets went up in price.
Absolutely. So I am looking forward to seeing WrestleMania finally. And
yeah,
it's going to be a night. So
yeah, it's coming right around the corner now. Let's hit a couple more things in WWE. How about the return of an angry, determined Jade Cargill, just beating the hell out of Naomi in the Elimination Chamber, and then coming back and finishing her off during the show, complete with Jaded in the middle of the ring. Do we see Jade getting involved with Bianca, with Io Sky, with Rhea Ripley, or do you think that's something coming up after and we're going to see her just continuing to beat down Naomi for a little bit?
I think we may see it in spurts instead of all at one time. It's not AEW, for heaven's sake. So AEW, they throw the whole thing out at one time with the bathwater. But I think it'll be in spurts. I think she'll run Naomi for a little bit. And it appears to me now by and large that the guys and the ladies are doing feud fights a little bit more week to week. And I'm liking that because that's telling more of the story as to why they're there and they're not just pairing people together.
You get matches for the sake of matches, yeah.
Right. You get more quality work out of it. And to coin our phrase that we coined here on Wrestling Spotlight, it's more athleticism in the matches than about a year ago this time. So I think I commend the workers in the business for making that happen. And I think that's why the gates are going up.
Yeah. And they had a sold-out Madison Square Garden, which is a huge arena. You may not look like it on TV, but it's every bit of 20,000 seats. It's one of the bigger arenas in the NBA. Yeah, it's been remodeled so many times. There's virtually none of it existing from the original arena, but it is an iconic place and a really neat venue if you get a chance to go to an event. But they ended it with a pay-per-view level match. CM Punk taking on Seth Rollins. Not Seth freaking Rollins anymore, just Seth Rollins, the visionary, the Monday Night Messiah. And Seth got the win, but not the way he wanted it. He got the win because Roman Reigns came in at the end of the match and dragged him out of the ring, and his feet hit the ground. So therefore, you're the winner of the steel cage match. And then Roman went in and just, in a throwback to his first return, wrecked everybody and left. So it seemed like we were going to get Logan Paul, CM Punk. Now, after that, how can it not be the original reports that the match at Mania is going to be Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins?
Probably so. They seem to be bringing back the triangle matches quite a bit. I notice almost on every show week to week that I see, we have at least a triangle match now. And I find that kind of neat. So it's just more popular today than it was back in my day, though I did a couple. And they're hard to do because you're in there and you're having to work together and you're literally on the spot teaming up saying, well, who do we not want in here with us? And it just extends the match out even further, which is great for the fans since that's what the fans want to see is the longer run matches.
Yeah, and I was just amazed that that was a matchup on Raw. I mean, they're continuing to make Raw on Netflix an event. That was a big time effort, and that was a huge match. CM Punk was going at it. They were trading off each other's finishers. You know, Seth did a GTS. CM Punk did a curb stomp. Seth tried to get CM Punk to tap out with John Cena's spinning toe hold, the crossface, and a back and forth, really aggressive, hard-hitting match. You would not have seen this on WWE TV 3 years ago. No way.
And what do you think about Raw changing up their time slots in the coming weeks?
Oh, it's because it's
time.
Netflix. Yeah, it's because it's Netflix, so they're going to go live. So yeah, good point. The next couple weeks, because they're in Europe right before coming back for
like
the
3 and 4
run to
here.
WrestleMania. Yeah, you're at 3 o'clock East, 2 o'clock Central. So afternoon Raw. And then, of course, it's on Netflix, so you can watch it whenever. So it changes the dynamics.
That'll be different. I'm used to my 8 to 10.
Yeah, well, you can still watch it then. If they were on USA still, it would be tape delayed. But it's Netflix, so, run it live because Netflix is on everywhere. So, yeah.
What do you think about the breaks? What's your opinion about the breaks that they put in between the matches of the 3-minute timeout slots on the live feed? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, they obviously want to get revenue. So, it was not cheap programming. Neither promotion, AEW or WWE, AEW's contract, it's just as important for streaming on Max as it is airing on TBS and TNT. So the commercials are in mindset to the streaming. I'd imagine the two companies can probably do just about whatever they want, just within reason of when you want to air the spots. So, I mean, they seem to be less on both shows, which is interesting considering they're getting more money. Because in the past, you get paid more money. That means more commercials, right?
Usually, yeah.
But Netflix and Max are looking at AEW and WWE as, gigantic advertisements to subscribe to the services. So I think that cuts the commercials down a little bit. I was expecting them to go to commercials like they do in their PLEs, where they're all in between matches. Since you can put them wherever, but it's okay. I don't think it's a hugely disruptive thing. I mean, you're used to commercials.
And on the commercials now,
picture in picture.
Now I'm enjoying the split screen of the guys in the ring still going, and then the commercial off to the side. I like that a great deal. So you don't miss any of the action if there was a pinfall.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I think the Netflix move's gone well. I mean, it's been going for a while now, and it's easy to watch. The streaming app works great with both services, actually, both AEW and WWE. It's a much easier product to watch now, and I think WWE really kicked up their production budget. You can see it, especially if you look back at a WWE event from a couple of years ago. It's a big difference. I mean, it just is. I mean, it just jumps out at you. The video production focus is much greater, which is terrific. I mean, it makes every weekly show feel special, which, is what you want. You want it to be an event.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you one other question before we move on.
Yes,
how about Chad Gable mastering the art of the lucha by going to Mexico City and coming back with the mask? Do you think that's going to work? Is that what he needs for American Made to overcome the LWO?
I haven't really digested that whole thing yet. I've seen it, but I'm trying to understand it. That's kind of walking a tightrope a little bit. I think in the presentation of that, but it's his thing, and it seems to be working for him at the moment. But
I liked it. I liked it as
I
a
don't know.
throwback. You know, it reminded me of when Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch were the Texas Outlaws wearing
Did
their
it?
black mask. And everybody was pretending like, oh, it's the Texas Outlaws. Who knows who they are? Well, it's obvious. It's
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch. You can tell from a mile away. They're just wearing a mask.
And the
So
Black
it's the
Scorpion
same
was
thing.
Ric Flair. So
Yeah. And Chad Gable's wearing his red, white, and blue singlet, and he's doing the same cheer. I mean, it's him. So it's an amusing throwback to a different time in pro wrestling. So I'm enjoying that story. Let's move over to AEW. They had their first pay-per-view on Amazon Prime, which was a good way to watch it too, because what I've realized, it's a lot more fun to watch the AEW pay-per-view in a movie theater where
yeah,
you're surrounded by other wrestling fans, because the time just flies by then. You don't realize you've been sitting there for 5 hours. On
that's a good
TV, in your
thing.
own house, it's nice to have Amazon Prime and you can stop, start, go back and forth. So definitely a step up. In talking about stepping up in presentation, they made a step up, and I think there'll be another step up when they start on Max here. Probably not on Dynasty, but hopefully the next one. But
So are
that
they
being
going to
said,
be on Amazon Prime from now on? It's
pay-per-views on
not the
Amazon,
groundbreaking.
pay-per-views on Amazon Prime, and then coming soon to Max is what they're saying. So you'll be able to get both. So if you don't have
Well,
a
I have
subscription
both.
to Max,
So
you can watch it on Amazon Prime. Hopefully, when they come to Max, you'll get a little discount price too. But it
hopefully.
was the whole AEW experience, complete with all the matches. Which, you have a deep roster. What the heck? Let it go. I'm just pushing to get them back in AMC theaters. I really enjoyed that. The kickoff
Oh,
match was MJF against Hangman Adam Page, now firmly back on the side of good. And he even delivered an angel's wing, the move of the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels, his mentor, and then knocked MJ, a brutal looking angel's wings, actually, and then knocked MJF out with a buckshot lariat to get the win. So Hangman's past MJF. Where does he go now? Is he in the running for the world championship? Is he going to go after maybe Okada in the international championship? Or just kind of be a disruptive force throughout the company for a little bit?
they maybe just a disruptive force throughout the company before going for a world championship. So to build his name up and everything a little bit more, get more
Because,
solid
I mean,
footing.
he's a legitimate contender. He can always go after. I mean, heck, he was the guy who was Chris Jericho's opponent in the first AEW Heavyweight Championship match.
Right.
So
So
always a contender.
always
Mercedes, go ahead.
no go. I'm
Uh,
done.
we got a lot of matches, so I was just going to go through. Mercedes Moné,
Okay.
the CEO, holds on to her 4 titles. I don't think anyone thought Momo Watanabe was going to beat her. Who do you think eventually does beat Mercedes Moné? Is it still Willow Nightingale? Do you think that's the matchup that's coming?
I think the matchup is coming. I don't know if she'll be able to knock off Mercedes Monet Ponin in there tonight. Mercedes has just really perfected her craft at this point, and that's what I told the lady commentator, I guess, for personality on another podcast. I said Mercedes is it, and she looked at me like I lost my mind, but here we are discussing Mercedes Monday. So
she's
I
had a
have
great
predicted
run.
that from early on that she had potential to be what she's turned into, and I think she holds on to him for a little while.
For a while.
Because
Could
it's
have
building up her image then.
A Roman Reigns like reign with the title and carry it
Maybe.
for a couple of years. Yeah. Well, a couple of guys who are going after a title had a great match, and this was a good matchup of two wrestlers who go back a long ways, but you didn't expect it to work out this way. Swerve Strickland and Ricochet. Great match. Finally ended. 2 house calls and big pressure from Swerve. Gets the win. Prince Nana gets his embassy robe back. And Swerve is the #1 contender for the AEW title. He may well reclaim his championship a year to the day that he won it at Dynasty in St. Louis last year. What do you think of this feud, even, especially because I think most people thought Ricochet was going to come in and be this loved, athletic, acrobatic wrestler who doesn't really figure into much of anything. But AEW, his style is a much better fit. And being this annoying kind of jerk has really caught on with Ricochet. I think he's onto something that is going to give him a little more prominence than he was getting. Even though he won championships in WWE, you just took him for granted.
I think he's finding a position to build his name and his character up more, and I think that's what he's presently working on by going against contenders who outweigh him. And because even in a match where a guy's building his or her own persona, if they lose to the bigger star, they still work that star going into the next thing. So they never really fully lose steam, if you know what I'm trying to say, or momentum of what's being worked on. Swerve is actually in my promo of the week, since we didn't go over the promos last week when I was on the show. So happy for Swerve.
He's terrific.
Whose house is it? Swerve's house.
Swerve's house, yeah. Speaking of terrific, the Hurt Syndicate, they took care of business. This wasn't going to be a match. The Hurt Syndicate just obliterating the Outrunners. They showed Leo Rush and Action Andretti at ringside. They're not beating the Hurt business, the Hurt Syndicate. Who is going to get in there and actually compete with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, the almighty Bobby Lashley and the blueprint Shelton Benjamin? Who's going to stop those guys? Because, man, they do look dominant.
Well, they're quiet right now a little bit, but I've got eyes on the Young Bucks. I think the team, somebody who's been out there as a tag team for a while and who have held the belts for a while can do it, but it will take an experienced duel for sure to knock them off. They just overpower everyone they come to. It's kind of like a Road Warriors type thing almost. When they walk out to the ring. So unless they get 2 more brutes like that, I'm thinking maybe the Young Bucks.
That's a good one. I like that one. Or maybe Buddy and Brody King, the Hounds from Hell. Maybe. I mean, at least they got some physicality. They could sort of match up size-wise, but they look so polished. It's amazing that Bobby and Shelton had never teamed before, because Bobby was always the individual, and then Shelton was in the tag team, but it was never with Cedric Alexander. It was never Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. It's disappointing that they didn't have a chance to do this sooner in their run, because, man, they look great.
Right, and is this a Roman Reigns type run in AEW for them? I mean, do they just hold on to the titles for a while, or does AEW match them up with somebody?
They've only had them for, it seems like they've had them forever. They've only had them for about a month and a half, but they obliterated Private Party, beat down the Guns, and the Outrunners kind of won by losing. They did get signed full-time to AEW. So it's a good run for the Outrunners. You can see them showing up on the channel from their time in Glory Pro Wrestling. So congratulations to the Outrunners for getting themselves over from the Indies into one of the major leagues. But the Outrunners aren't beating the Hurt Syndicate. That's not happening anytime soon, unfortunately. One more AEW match before we get to, wow, there's a couple that were big. Timeless Tony Storm dispatches Mariah May in a brutal, no holds barred match, a bloodfest in the spirit of the old NWA matches. I mean, it looked like an all-time Roddy Piper match from the NWA, a Buzz Sawyer match, just covered with blood. Tony Storm using glass knuckles. You had a broken champagne bottle to the bikini bottoms. I mean, it was nuts. Have you ever been in a match like that, a extreme hardcore match?
I have not. And I only bled one time, and that was with when I tag teamed on my official debut match. I debuted twice, but my official debut match was here in Mount Olive, and I tag teamed with my idol, Chief Wahoo McDaniels, against Vladimir Koloff and Ivan. And I bled during that one. And a couple of promoters asked me to cut again, and I said no. They said why? I said because I only did it for Ivan and Wahoo McDaniels, and they looked at me kind of like you are. And they said, oh, wow. But it may have costed me work with them later, but you had to say no sometimes. You couldn't say yes to everything. I did ladder matches a couple of times, and those were a blast. And that was about as hardcore as I got. And I was there when the Hardy Boys first started breaking tables. So they actually did that in high schools before going to the main circuit with it. The tables, ladders, and chairs thing. Matt just told me one night to keep dragging stuff out, and I said, "Where's this going?" He said, "You'll see." And I saw.
Yeah, well, and they were in the news too. As we roll on, Kenny Omega comes back and shows that the Omega is better than the Alpha as he beat Konosuke Takeshita. So Kenny Omega's back. He's got a championship. Is he going to stop at the international championship, or does he have his eyes set on bigger prizes too?
I think at this point, because he has the championship, he's probably got his eyes set on bigger things. I would, if I had the upset of the year so far. And that's kind of what it was a little bit, in my opinion. But I was rooting for Kenny at that point in time. So I'm very pleased to see him as a champion again. And I think he's got world title potential in him if he'll just continue on the path he's going. He's always been charismatic with the fans, always been fan-based to the best of my knowledge. So that's kind of what the promoter does. The promoter will sit back and say, well, look at how people are interacting with them, and that's kind of who they decide week to week gets to push to move up.
I like that, because that is a way. I was talking to a friend with our charity Heart of a Champion Foundation, and she asked, well, hey, is it competitive wrestling? Well, yeah, you're competing You're competing for the attention. You're competing for the spot. I mean, in a way, it's not much different than any other sport because you have to compete to show you're the person that can be the starter. Like Cody's saying, that can be the QB1. You're it. You're the guy. You got that
That could
belt
be the
on you.
face of the company.
You're the starter.
So,
Yeah. So it is a
and
huge
when
difference.
they put the guys on those trucks and things, when they put the guys' images and faces on those trucks, they're there for a reason because that's what the fanfare connects with.
On the action figures, I got the CM Punk figure behind me. I mean, it's all part of it. Well,
Right.
as we'll just finish off the card here. Will Ospreay takes out the protostar Kyle Fletcher. He gets his win back in a steel cage matchup. Had a Styles clash onto thumbtacks. Brutal match. Will Ospreay now says he wants to be the top dog in AEW too, and you can't argue with what Will Ospreay's done since he's been in AEW. He's on a roll just like he was in New Japan with the United Empire. So you're getting that action up to the top of the card. I think Jon Moxley is getting what he asked for. He asked for a different attitude and for competitors to be coming at him, and now he's got Hangman, Swerve, Ospreay. I'm sure Kyle Fletcher wants to get a shot too. Switchblade, Jay White, competitors all over. And that's not even getting into the guys who competed in the last matchup. Jon Moxley against the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland, and Christian cashed in his contract during this matchup. Just a great way to end it. Swerve putting the exclamation mark on at the end of the card by diving off the entryway onto Moxley to let him know, hey, I'm next. There's going to be a rematch. There's going to be a street fight next week with Adam Copeland going up against Jon Moxley. So maybe Adam Copeland's last chance at the title. I think we both thought Adam Copeland was going to win it. Does he win it this week? And
I'm hoping so. I think his time is ticking.
I think it's time. I think it's time for somebody to win it, but I'm really hoping it's Swerve coming up at Dynasty. But there's a lot of interest in that AEW title now, and it made up quite a bit of Dynamite. Just the wrestlers talking about the title shot, which is great because that's what it should be about, right? Everybody's looking to be the champion, so let's go. And they have multiple secondary titles. You got the TNT title, the Continental title, the International title, but there's only one big title, and that's the AEW World Championship. They don't have a different championship on each show. They just have one. So it makes sense that a lot of the card should be focused on that one and elevated as a special title. So in a way, Jon Moxley's done what he said he wanted to do with the Death Riders and hiding the title away because now everybody's after it.
Well, it brings more life to things, and people. It's like I said some shows back. Everyone wants to be number one in the locker room, and everyone can't. So, but when you have people actually going out and trying for that, to me, it brings the spirit of competition back to the game. And I told a friend of mine today. He said, "Well, I liked it back when this person and that person was doing it." And I said, "Well, the wrestling industry is trying to get people like you back to the TV set, watching it again, by having quality fights now and so forth." And I had this interest peaked a hair bit, and I said, if you notice the angle and the pull and the character build-ups and presentations, that's what they're doing. They're breaking out into their own more now, like back in the 80s and 90s when Randy Savage was in it and different ones. So it's going back to old school, and I'm loving that. It's been a long time coming. So
Now, I want to get to your promo of the week, and we'll get to our weekly champion. And I wanted to, though, quickly hit on NXT followed up WWE at the Garden with the show from the theater at the Garden, which is another great venue, about a 8 to 10,000 seat venue. It's where they used to host the NFL draft, and it's right there. It's attached to the Madison Square Garden in the same complex. That's where NXT originated from, and it was the return of the Hardys to a WWE ring, albeit an NXT ring, as they took on the NXT tag champions, Fraction, and the Hardys got a win. So, huge win for the Hardys. Good for TNA, elevate TNA some. Now, were you impressed with the Hardys getting in there and hanging in there with a much younger athletic tag team like Fraxium?
very much so. I did catch that on X and whatnot, social media. I think they've been around so long that they can hang in the dance with most anybody now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my commentary notes at the very top is actually that the Hardys are being written into the main storyline for WWE in the spring and in the summer of this year. So
I can see that.
I think that'll be good.
Contracts are coming up soon. They're elevating TNA more than I had anticipated they would, because you also had Jordan Grace, now part of the WWE universe, taking on Roxanne Perez, as Jordan Grace is stepping her way up towards the title in the WWE world. And Oba Femi taking on Moose and defeating Moose. So it wasn't a clean sweep for TNA. The TNA Tag Champions won. The TNA X Division Champion Moose, former NFL lineman, he fell to Oba Femi. But a good matchup, good physical matchup. Then you did see a championship change as Julia dropped the NXT title to Stephanie Vancour. Two of the, I guess you'd say, the future building blocks of the women's universe in the WWE. And it looks like Julia, a little bit of an injury, so kind of explains the result. But you have Stephanie Vancour is now your NXT Women's Champion. So she'll be factoring into a lot as things move on in WWE. I think you see her moving up to the main roster. I don't know if she moves up before Jordan Grace, but it'll be interesting. Let's get to who was your promo of the week? You said you had a couple stored up.
Promo of the week. I have it here somewhere. It actually came from last week. Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet in AEW. I thought they had the best promo of the 2 weeks.
The contract signing. Yeah, that was fun.
Blood and everything. So. My match of the week was Chelsea Green versus Mention street fight for the Women's U.S. Heavyweight Championship. And bump of the week was from last week. The General versus Otis with a power bomb onto the floor. I thought that was awesome. We had a runner-up in the AEW, but I went back and saw the power bomb dropping like that instead. Do you want to do champion of the week too?
Yeah, well, here, I'll go with, for the promo, I'm going to go with Jade, Bianca, and Naomi. 2 parts, okay. Bianca and Naomi. Naomi admitting she was the person who worked over Jade, and then Jade coming in and finishing her off with the Jaded. I think that story is going to keep going. There's a lot to come there. Bump of the week, I'm going to go with MJF on that Angels wing. That looked brutal. And then it bled right into Buckshot Lariat for the win. So I thought that was great. And match of the week, I would go Ricochet and Swerve. I thought that was a really good match, and kind of told the story too with Prince Nana because he really wanted to get that rope back. So with that, let's go to our champion of the week as we're winding it down here on Wrestling Spotlight. Just keep in mind, you can download that True TV Plus app to watch us anywhere. You can also visit our website, wrestlingspotlight.live, and you can watch it right there on any device. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lily La Pescadita from Northland Pro Wrestling, your Northland Pro Wrestling Women's Champ, and you can see me on Wrestling Spotlight.
Okay. We got our Wrestling Spotlight Television Championship belts here.
Loving
Sonny,
your
who's
belt.
your winner? Yeah.
My winner this
well, new logo, new belt.
my champion of the week this week and winner is a young man that I have been working with out of parts unknown. I've known him for about a year now. He's in wrestling school, but he's working with AEW Wrestling out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yes, I'm reading it from my cheat sheet. And his name is El Luca. El Luca. He's a Spanish type wrestling fellow, sort of, and he's got a second-degree black belt that's legit. And I am mentoring him on his finishing holds and different things, long distance, of course. But he's coming along. He's got shows on YouTube of his past fights, the past 6 or 7 months. So every time he has one, he sends them to me, and I get to critique them.
Terrific. That's awesome. Well, I'm going to go with Kenny Omega. Because it is amazing that he's back wrestling these kind of matches after having a burst diverticuli and suffering from diverticulitis. My youngest daughter was in the hospital for a week with diverticulitis, and it's still bothering her a month later. Hers didn't burst. They caught it in time, but it's a big deal. If you haven't had somebody that you know have it or had a chance to experience watching it, it's mind-boggling that he's in the shape he's in and doing what he's doing. It's, truly incredible. One of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And if he never came back, he'd still be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But the fact that he's come back and is wrestling at the top level is truly amazing. So Kenny Omega, weekly champion for me. And with that, we'll wrap it up here. You can stay tuned to Wrestling Spotlight for more sports and entertainment. And this week, Sonny, we are featuring a matchup from Glory Pro with the Lucha Bros, Penta and Phoenix coming soon to WWE. But you can see them this week on Wrestling Spotlight from their debut match back in 2019 in Glory Pro. It's airing on the channel. Just tune in and check it out. And Sonny, if people want to touch base with you, get a little bit more wrestling info, where can they reach you at?
They can reach me on Sonny Cain at Real Sonny Cain on X. They can reach me on Sonny Cain at Sonny the Mandigo Cain on Facebook.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, thanks a lot. Have a great week and enjoy all of the terrific wrestling as we're heading up towards AEW Dynasty and WrestleMania. The regular season is on. Stay tuned here to Wrestling Spotlight to get more and stay up to date. Have a great